you say you were fired and it happened abruptly because you shared with one of my Bloomberg colleagues that you had taken LSD before a board meeting back in 2019. From your perspective, what happened?
Yeah, the story was never been about taking a substance in 2019 for focus. It was really about speaking up and sharing my journey as an Asian American founder and CEO. And it was supposed to be a story about positive story, overcoming obstacles and raising very healthy valuation as a $2 billion company. But instead, it became a story about the price you have to pay to stand up, speak up as an Asian American and stand for justice.
So you make the allegation in the story that this might have something to do with your race. And that is a strong allegation. Your backers, including Index and CRV, have backed a number of companies with Asian founders, and they declined to comment for this particular story. But what evidence do you have that there was discrimination at play?
Yeah, the fact is my performance as a CEO, my performance as a leader is the highest you can see. The feedback I've gotten is not about my performance, but the style, the values I hold, looking for consensus and not being conflict, choosing conflict first. And really it's about the values I have as an Asian American, the Eastern values I have, and it's really discriminating who I am versus actually looking at objectively the performance of me as a CEO.
Talk to us a little bit more about your relationship with your investors. Did you feel like it was strained?
I did, and it's been over a year. I just felt there was a lot of criticism about how I did things and didn't really quite understand why, because all of the metrics, performance was really good. And so as I got down to it, we had a meeting in the park last June where the investor called me out of the blue. And it was about, it sounds like you're pattern matching on the profile of a CEO that goes public. We're on track to be public. There are very few people who look like me, Asian American enterprise software company CEO. And so really you're thinking about protecting your investment versus actually about doing what's best for the long term of the company.
Now, you know, I know you believe this is much bigger than the LSD incident itself, but that incident, to be fair, is getting a lot of attention. Many people out there don't understand why you would take LSD before a meeting or why your investors should tolerate it. Why should they tolerate it? Why do you think the action they took was unfair?
Yeah, so the root of the LSD experience was to heal trauma and stress associated with this role. Part of sharing this experience is also, especially in Asian communities, we are told to eat the suffering, where we don't talk about our suffering. And for me, I was at a point where I needed to heal in order to protect the company and raise a Series D. And so that was out of the need to do so. It's something also I've learned from other entrepreneurs, from Michael Pollan's book around these healing substances, as you showed in the article, something that Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, many others who've taken. And so that's what inspired me to take it. And since then, it has changed my life. Our company has 4x in valuation, and the culture is thriving. And so by all respects, we're doing so well after that healing, the trauma I had.
Now, it's no secret that microdosing has become a trend. It's been, written about on tech blogs. There are tech CEOs and founders out there who talk about doing this regularly. And I wonder, is it something that you support? Was that a one-time thing? Or do you think that this is a problem in the industry more broadly?
Yeah, it's something I did one time in 2019. I would prefer to have access to a therapist that really understood this medicine. It was very difficult to find, and it was only through reading books I understood. And so really, for me, the way I did it, I definitely don't recommend it. But it was something I had to do to make sure that the company is in a good place. I'm certainly not an expert on LSD. I think there's a lot of good research being done there. But from my experience, it has changed my life. It has changed my relationships with my mom, with our employees, and just with how I process emotions and the difficulties I faced as an Asian American and also as a founder and CEO.
I understand and empathize with the struggle and perhaps the lonely journey of starting a company and scaling a company, which I'm sure is incredibly challenging. One of the things you talk about in the article is you talk about how investors early on are looking for quote unquote weird, I believe is the term you use, when they're looking for people to fund early on. But then as years passed, the desire for what they want in a leader changes. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so the conflict I had was with my Series A and Series B investors who invested 5 or 6 years ago. And so they're typical VC funds at 7 to 8 years. And so they're nearing the end of their fund. And so they're looking to sell the company or have his IPO and move on. Whereas I'm trying to build a company for the next 20, 30 years. And this company is my life's work. I put my heart and soul and everything I have into the company. To this day, I have not sold one share. And so really you can start seeing a conflict in terms of the time horizons. And so, and I think some of the strain also came from that.
So when you look back on the decisions that you made over the years, and maybe, if it was indeed just that one time, do you have any regret about how you handled the situation, whether it was just that situation or other situations?
I think certainly there's things I can improve on, and I'm very open to feedback. I think if I had to do it over again, I would have talked to more people sooner about the stresses and traumas I've had, sought help earlier. I really try to take everything on my own shoulders. And so I hope my story can inspire others to seek help earlier, to talk to people, and not have a situation that's happened to me, which is very unfortunate.
Your co-founder has been appointed CEO at this time. Do you think your investors made a mistake? Do you think the company can keep growing as fast as it did without you at the helm?
So my co-founder and I, we've known each other for almost 10 years. I'm one of his best friends. I'm supposed to be at his wedding in a couple of months as his groomsman. So the way this happened is just so traumatic for all of us. Andrew, since the beginning, he loves working on product. He's an engineer and innovator there, but he is not a manager. This is the first time he's managing anyone. So you went from someone who's an engineer to now managing 420 people of a $2 billion company. So I certainly don't think it's the right thing, let alone having my co-founder be in that position and given our relationship.
So, I would assume that your investors and you and your co-founder probably want the same thing, which is a strong company that's growing fast with focused leadership. Do you think there's something that, whether it's your investors or that the community could have provided to have made that happen or to help other founders out there?
I think it's providing space for founders, asking the founders, the CEOs, how are you doing? How are you really doing? And providing more mental health support and really understanding where they're coming from. 3 weeks ago, I disclosed for the first time to my investors the experience I went through, the LSD experience, hoping they would understand that this was solely for helping the company to raise their funding in 2019. And this is really from the perspective of, hey, this is my life's work and the people, hundreds of people that I want to protect. And so I really think making space, empathy for that going forward would be very helpful for the community.
So what are we going to see you do next?
I'm just recovering from all of this. I'm trying to talk to as many people as possible. Probably take a little bit of time off just to reflect. It's been 8+ years building Iterable. I have much love for the people there. I miss them all. If you hear me, iterators, I miss you all. Thank you for everything you do. I'm just trying to process this all. It's honestly very traumatic, and it's really quite an experience so far. So it's really just time to reflect.
Are you going to be going to the wedding, your co-founder's wedding?
I'm going to the wedding, yes. Andrew, I still love you. You're still my brother. You're still my brother.